Welcome back, everybody. So I'm out here shooting videos about the different cars, what I like and what I don't like about them, and I'm save the best for last to me. So this is, I wasn't even thinking about it, but this is actually it's January 2022, a little bit over, but we bought this car in October of 2016. So this kind of is somewhat of a 5-year review, ownership review of the 0304 Terminator Cobra. So this car, I've been through a lot with this car, done a lot to this car. When I bought it, had IRS still. It was a stock Eaton 276 upper, 4-pound lower, or no, it didn't have a 4-pound lower, I'm sorry. 276 upper, had, you know, cold air, off-road X-pipe tune car, more or less. Immediately had to start modifying it because, you know, I think I've talked about this in other videos, but it wasn't making a lot of power for what the modifications were, and I was like, well, probably just a tune. You know, wasn't a very good tuner. Turns out, you know, talking to, you know, I went to VMP. Joe Goodnow hooked me up for a couple, you know, first few years I had this vehicle. He was like, hey, you're running out of fuel, so added a booster pump. Fixed the problem. Is the symptom actually. Pumps weren't flowing enough. Well, they weren't flowing enough because the alternator was going out under wide open throttle, which these cars are known for, doing that. So, you know, I had to start doing, you know, had to replace parts. You know, the IRS was a pain in the ass from day one. I enjoyed it. I thought, you know, always wanted to try an IRS car. I've had several Mustangs over the years. The new Edge body style is what was always kind of my go-to. I started out with SN95s, but new Edge also, you know, which is basically an SN95. Then I hadn't had an IRS car until now. And then, long story short, this car has a solid rear axle now. But I've been through this car a lot. You know, put a lower on the stock supercharger, ran a ported Eaton for a while, same pulley setup. And now, of course, we've got the 2.4 Kenny Bell, and I'm on E85, so, you know, this car is really making probably about double what it did from the factory as far as horsepower goes. And honestly, these things are money pits, no doubt about it. You know, the Cobra, the 0304 Cobra was a kind of a skunk works deal that SVT, in order for SVT to make it work, they had to, you know, basically grab from the parts bin on a lot of things. You know, like the V6 alternator, you know, in a bad spot right by the exhaust manifold. So, you know, things like that cause some reliability issues that they are known for. But, and I daily drove this car for a couple of years, about a year and a half, and put about 19,000 miles on it in that year and a half. And, you know, so I kind of know the ins and outs of it. I've also had this car, just about every piece of this car tore apart at some point or another. So I'd like to think I know most what there is to know about these cars. I'm not the expert. No, I don't think anybody could ever claim to be that, except for the, you know, some of the OG Cobras that, you know, of course they're all running Gen 5 Whipples now and running, you know, 8-second passes. But, you know, those guys, yeah, they know what they're talking about. They say something, you just go ahead and listen, nod your head, give a north and south, and do it. Some of the things, my notes, that I note about this, a lot of people complain about the interior. The interior is one of the things I always loved about these cars, just the way it is. I love the suede, the dual leather and suede seats, the white, although they're not white, they're kind of gray back face gauges, things like that I just always loved. I've always loved the S197, or not the SN95 platform, you know, based off of Fox. People complain about shifter placement of the transmission, but it's natural for me because that's one of the main vehicles I cut my teeth on when I was younger. Driving a manual was an SN95 or a New Edge. T56, I've never really had a problem with it. This one's kind of, my T56 is kind of not 100% anymore. Thinking that maybe the output shaft bearings are going out, so we might have to pull the transmission in the near future. But I mean, she's held up. You know, it's got a spec clutch in it, which it had when we bought it, and honestly, it surprised me how well it's held up, even with this Kenny Bell. So, you know, all in all, it's a car that you just, you know, they have a lot of little things that go wrong with them. You know, you got to if you have the IRS, you got to basically torque the axle nuts down every time you do an oil change. And so you got to have a special torque wrench for, you know, it goes up to like 250 foot-pounds, and you got to have a big 36 millimeter socket for it. I think it was 36. The alternators, they just go out, they eat them, you know, in the stock location. I've had, let me find some wood to knock on again. Had really good luck with the AutoZone Reman lifetime warranty V6 alternator that I've got in it right now. That's been in the car almost the entire time I've owned it, and puts out 14 volts. Does not drop. I mean, it drops a little at wide open throttle, but not much, because I did a big, you know, 0 gauge wire upgrade for it for the power and ground and all that. But they don't handle the greatest, especially with a solid rear axle. You can make them handle with the IRS, whatnot, but it's still not the greatest car. You know, the brakes, they were the hottest thing. They were the hot ticket back in the day. They aren't great at all, you know, by today's standards. What else? Yeah, a stock one today, performance-wise, you're not really winning a whole lot of races with a stock Terminator Cobra anymore, because of technology and the way power is gone. But I will tell you, I've owned every generation of Mustang since the Fox body. I've owned, you know, an S1, you know, had a 13 GT track pack, had a 2015 GT with a MT82, and we had a 2018 performance pack 10R80 GT. And while those are all far superior cars all around, they handle better, they brake better, they're more comfortable, better gas mileage. If you want a fun car, none of those are as fun as this. But hands down, this is probably the wildest ride you can have, especially in a Mustang. They don't handle great, and they're kind of loose, and you know, they're kind of hard to control. I mean, they are hard to control, especially at this power level. This is the car that pretty much gave Mustangs the name, you know, the nickname as a crowd killer, made them a meme, is the 03 or 4 Cobras, because back in the day, people weren't used to being able to have that much power in a car, you know, with the bolt-on levels that these cars could have, and they were just going out of control, you know, leaving car mates and shit like that, and, you know, taking people out. So aesthetically, this is one of the best looking Mustangs in my opinion ever, still to this day. The fact that they had to build short block and all this and that, I could go on and on and on. Is it worth it? To me, well, I'm biased. I've always wanted one. Ever since 2002, when the spy shots of these came out, I wanted one. And when they were announced and what all they had, I wanted one ever since. It took me several, basically about, 14 years from the time that I first saw photos of them till I actually got one. And this one has given me a lot of fits over the years, but it's kind of like a marriage, I guess you'd say. It was a love-hate relationship, but if I could do it all over again, would I? Absolutely. Love this car, even though it's a pain in the butt, and I don't drive it that much anymore because of how far I've gone with it. It's fun being that it's this fast, but honestly, the most fun I had with it was when I still could daily drive it. When it was, pulleyed, eaten. It was a very quick car, but didn't have to worry about driving it in the rain. With drag radials, you drive in the rain, you feel like you're gonna die, which it's possible. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep on rambling at this point because I love this car so much. And in 2021, back to my question, is it worth it? Well, that's a question you have to ask yourself. Are you buying this as a daily driver? I would not buy one. They weren't good daily drivers to begin with. They don't get good gas mileage. They do have reliability issues with certain parts. They're small parts and they're not that hard to change, but still, I would not get one as a daily driver in today's world. Are you buying it as a toy, just to cruise around in? Absolutely get it. Just one of the, like I said, it's probably the most fun, it's the most exhilarating car I've ever driven. And I've driven a lot of different cars over the years. I would 100% get this car again, if I could again. Mine's not a show car by any means. It was a daily, by me, by the previous owner, a few others, and it's had its fair share of mishaps, but it's still nothing that's wrong with mine is unfixable. So I'm more than happy to keep it, and I probably will until they outlaw them, and then I'll probably still have it. I just won't be able to drive it. So yeah, like I said, there's not a lot I can keep on saying that others haven't said, but if you have the money, the means, and it doesn't have to be your only transportation, absolutely get it. If you don't have the means to get another vehicle, or you don't have another vehicle already, you can get one, and it can be a daily driver, but you need to keep your power level at a reasonable expectation, and it'll still be okay. If you live in the South and all you get is rain, then yeah, keep your power level down, run street tires, and you'll be fine. They don't do terrible in the rain with the right tire. So anyway, I'm just done. I'm gonna quit rambling now, and yeah, my next video will be the 5 things I hate about it. So until that video, I'll talk to y'all later.